Namaste. Welcome to this session on the confusion matrix. By the end of this lecture, you should no longer look like this Jackie Chan meme because a confusion matrix will no longer confuse you. So now, let us first see why the need for a confusion matrix arises in the first place when we can so easily compute the accuracy of a model by simply dividing the number of correct predictions by the total data size. And it sounds fair enough, but now just assume that we have trained a model on a dataset which contains information about people who have or do not have cancer. Now such a dataset will be a very skewed one because a majority of the people will not have cancer and only a minority will really have the disease. So now in the test set, when we test a model, we find that out of 100 people, only 2 really happen to have cancer and rest 98 do not have cancer. So now if the model is created in such a manner that predicts no every time, such that it says to every person that you do not have cancer, you do not have cancer, you do not have cancer. So if it tells that to each of these 100 people, then even then do you see we'll have a whopping 98% accuracy because 98 of them do not have cancer and only 2 of them have cancer. So we are incorrectly telling the 2 people who have cancer that you also do not have cancer, but even then we have a 98% accuracy. But is this accuracy really whopping or is it lame? Well, even though it is 98%, I would choose the latter because this dataset is hugely imbalanced because the ratio is using 98 is to 2 or 49 is to 1, which is a very bad ratio, a very skewed ratio, and hence this is where an accuracy metric fails. Accuracy is useful when you have a very balanced dataset like 50 apples, 50 oranges. So if you are trying to predict which one is an apple, which one is an orange, so that would make more sense if you get a 95% accuracy or 98% accuracy because you have a balanced class labels. But in this case, when you have a imbalanced data, the accuracy metric fails. So now a need arises for something that tells us exactly how many the classifier got correct and how many it got incorrect. Okay. So now there enters the confusion matrix, and it is an n by n matrix where n is a number of different classes. For binary, n is equal to 2. Okay, so we for binary, for that is for if we have two classes like positive negative, we would have a 2 by 2 matrix. Now it is used for classification tasks only and it is not used for regression models, and in a clear and concise manner it provides us a table clearly indicating how many labels were correctly classified and how many were not correctly classified. So this is the basic crux of a confusion matrix, and the name stems from the fact that we are trying to calculate the number of instances where the classifier was basically confused in predicting the correct labels. Okay, so hence the name confusion matrix, and it is used, and the confusion matrix forms the basis while forming the ROC curves and calculating the area under the curve or AUC, which discriminates between a good model and an average model. This is what a confusion matrix really looks like for a binary classification, where on the one axis we have the actual values and on the other axis we have the predicted values. Now I'm saying one axis, other axis because sometimes you will find that the predicted is on the row level and actual is on the column level, and sometimes also negative is up, positive is down, negative is left, positive is right. So this can be all jumbled up, but if you are thorough in your concept as to what these terms mean, then it should be a no-brainer for you in whatever way the confusion matrix was formed. Well, now what does this positive, negative mean? In the context of an email classification, a positive case would be a spam email and a negative case would be a non-spam email. And for a credit card transaction, a fraudulent transaction is a positive class and a negative class is a not fraud or a normal transaction. If you are trying to detect a tumor, then a malignant tumor is a positive case and a benign tumor or a non-dangerous tumor is a negative case. And if you are trying to detect if somebody has a disease or not, then since we are living in 2020, we all know what testing positive for a certain disease really means. So if you test positive, that means you have the disease, and if you test negative, you do not have the disease, and hence the terms yes and no. And mathematically speaking, 1 means a positive class and 0 means a negative class. So you shouldn't jumble these things up, because if somebody reads your confusion matrix, he would by default have these things in his mind, that a positive label is defined for such things and negative is defined for such things. Okay, so basically the point is, if there is a presence of something, then it is a positive class, and if there is an absence of something, it is a negative class. So if there's an absence of spam, absence of fraud, absence of a bad tumor, absence of a disease or a zero, it is an negative class, and otherwise positive. So now let us get accustomed to these four terminologies, which will form the basics of the matrix that we are going to study in the next video. Okay, so now what is TP? TP is the intersection of actual positive and predicted positive. Just say it just say it out loud, like truly positive. So when you say truly positive, it should instantly strike in your mind like truly positive, and when you say truly positive, it intuitively means that you predicted something to be positive and it really also turned out to be positive. This confusion matrix was actually derived from a churn modeling dataset which was trying to predict whether somebody would leave a bank or not. Okay, so now the target labels were the 1 and 0, whether a person left the bank or person did not leave the bank. So what do you think should be the positive label in this case? Well, yes, a positive should be a person left the bank and negative would be a person did not leave the bank. In the true positive case, 184 true positives would mean that somebody left the bank in reality and the model also said that they would leave the bank. Okay, next is true negatives, which is TN. So what this true negative means is that we truly predicted somebody to not leave the bank. These 1543 people, they did not leave the bank and the model also said that they will not leave the bank. So in these times we were correct 1543 times, and also 184 times we were correct when we said the people will leave the bank. Okay, next is false positive. It is the intersection of actual negative and predicted positive. So what it means is that we falsely predicted something to be positive. So positive in our case is leaving the bank, so we falsely predicted somebody to leave the bank when in reality they did not leave the bank. Okay, so this should be clear to you that actual negative means they did not leave the bank in reality, and predicted positive, which means that they left the bank according to the model. So this is a false positive. And false negative, the last one, it means that we falsely categorize something as negative. Negative in our case is not leaving the bank. So when you just say it in layman language, we falsely predicted some person to not leave the bank when they actually left the bank. So this is a false negative case, and we have 223 false negative cases where the model said that this person will not leave the bank, but in reality they did leave the bank. So now I have colored these two in red and these two in green because the basic purpose of our model is to minimize these false positives and false negatives, right? So just imagine if we have 0 false positives and 0 false negatives and all the results were either in true positive or true negative cases, then the model accuracy will be 100%, right? Because we are not misclassifying any data point into the other category, and hence these two are the desirable outcomes and these two are the undesirable outcomes. Now, false positive is also called a type 1 error and false negative is also called a type 2 error. So sometimes it can get a little bit difficult to understand or to remember which one is type 1 and which one is type 2. So a simple way to remember is to use the Roman numeral format, and when you use the type 2 error, in that case when you say type II or type 2, if you just draw a slanting line between the two i's like this and think of it as n. Okay, so this looks like an n now. Hence we now know that a type 2 error is basically a false negative error because this makes an n, and conversely a false positive error will be a type 1 error. Okay, so that would be all for this lecture. In the next one we'll talk about the various metrics like precision recall, sensitivity, specificity, F1 score, F beta score, and easy ways to remember the definitions and formulae. But a very important prerequisite for that lecture is understanding this lecture of the confusion matrix. So if you remember these 4 quantities very well and if you understand what they really mean, then this lecture should be a cakewalk for you. So I hope you now have a clear understanding of what a confusion matrix is, and if you have any doubts, please let me know in the comment section below and I'll be happy to address all your doubts as much as possible. And I hope to see you in the next lecture as well. So thank you for watching.